The first lesson of power is that secrets move faster than money, and I learned it on the day a smile wore two faces and a truth learned its way into the light. I am Helena Montez, 35 years old, a senior bank executive who can turn a stubborn balance sheet into a map of opportunities, and I guard a secret ambition that does not shout but hums in the back of my mind, the plan to shape the future rather than wait for it to arrive on a silver platter. The event that frames this episode is the kind of betrayal that cuts deep, not just in love, but in trust. A 2-for-1 wound inflicted by the person I believed would stay by my side, and the person who had always promised to come along for the ride. He was the person I gave the most of myself to, the partner who stood with me when the world told us to go slow, and my best friend who stood with him even as I stretched toward the impossible. I found out on a gray evening, when the air smelled like rain and coffee and the city felt both close and distant, that the look they shared was not a private tenderness, but a signal of alchemy gone wrong, the kind of chemistry that changes the first page of a life and makes the rest seem like a shadow of what could have been. The moment came with a note left on the kitchen counter, a note that should have told me they planned a life together. But what it told me was that they planned to hide the truth, as if truth could be hidden forever. I held the note like it was a shard of glass, careful not to cut myself again, and I walked through the rooms of my house as if the walls themselves wanted to tell me how small I had become. Inside my chest, there was a burning ache that was not just for the love we lost, but for the trust I built my days on. The belief that I could protect what mattered most through sheer will and corporate craft. Yet the ache did not stop me from acting. If a betrayal could not kill you, it could serve as a map. And I began to map mine that night, a plan not of vengeance in its wildest sense, but of justice in a way that would change the rules without destroying the humanity I still valued. I structured a life that would test every weakness in the heart of a man who thought he could rise again by playing with the past. A plan that would force him to confront the consequences of his choices in the very place where he hoped to escape them. In the days that followed, I returned to the floor that had become my arena, walked the familiar path between teal light and the blue glow of screens, and I spoke with the same calm voice that others trusted to carry a room through rough seas. The secret ambition grew quieter but stronger. I wanted to be the one who could decide not only how much money a company could borrow, but how a life could be rebuilt after a fall, how a betrayal could become the turning point that proved a person could govern her own fate. The person who had betrayed me re-entered my life in a way that could not have been more direct. He joined the very team I led, placed within reach of the numbers I controlled and the contracts I designed. The irony not lost on anyone in the room who understood that this was not a chance reunion, but a test of nerves and will. He did not recognize the edges of the trap because he believed that his past would stay hidden, that the truth would stay buried under the glitter of a powerful job and the easy charm that had once won him friends. I watched him from the corner of the room, not with hatred, but with the careful attention of a physician watching a patient who is about to try a dangerous treatment, and I let the truth begin to come apart the way a safe door opens when the alarm has been silenced long enough. The plan I built did not rely on loud words or dramatic gestures. It was a patient, relentless design. I created a deal that would require precise timing, a structure that would not bend under pressure, and a few key metrics that would expose even the smallest miscalculation. I invited him to participate only as a participant with a quiet role, a position that would demand that he prove himself again on the board stage, not by clever talk, but by closed doors and careful calculations. The room grew tense as the pieces moved, the hum of the trading floor like the breath of a creature watching us all. And I let him walk into the trap I had prepared. Not a trap of cruelty, but a trap of accountability, where every misstep he had hidden in the shadows would be brought to the light with a soft but firm hand. The moment came when the numbers told the story, and the board listened with a growing hush, a hush that felt like a held breath. And I spoke not to strike him down, but to show the path forward, to demonstrate that the same mind that could be misused in private could be trained to serve the whole in public. He tried to polish the past with a smile, to claim that what he did was a mistake of youth, a phrase that would have moved nothing in the past, but that now sounded hollow against the evidence I placed on the table. A ledger of decisions and outcomes that could not be argued away by charm alone. The gaze of the investors shifted. The room settled into a new frequency, and the man who had betrayed me found himself fighting a fight he could not win. A fight against the fact that the truth is not a weapon if it is tempered with proof and restraint. When the final decision was made, it did not come with fireworks, but with a quiet, almost ceremonial acceptance of the new order. A moment that felt like the closing of a door, only to reveal a new corridor that I would walk alone, but with a map of my own making in my hands. The outcome was not just a gain of numbers or titles, but a restoration of balance, a reallocation of trust that placed the right people in the right seats and sent a clear message to any other dreamers who believed that old loyalties could be traded like one more asset. He would remain in the same company, but he would answer to me. His past a constant reminder that the past wants to be paid for. And I would make sure the debt was settled, not in loud punishment, but in the discipline of daily excellence. The work that followed was not about revenge for its own sake, but about creating a boundary that no one would cross again without immediate consequence. A boundary drawn in the language of risk and reporting, in the slow, stubborn trust that comes from repeated success, the kind of trust that becomes a shield and a beacon at the same time. People whispered that I had become colder, that I had learned to turn pain into power without mercy. And some nights I wondered if there was truth in that whisper. But I could not afford to let mercy become a liability when the world kept asking me to show up. To show up with a plan that did not flinch at cost and did not pretend that the old heartache could vanish with a clever line. The truth I learned is that revenge is a practice, not a moment, and justice served cold is a form of mercy when it protects the future from the same misdeeds taking roots again. So I kept moving, the skyline a constant reminder that the city does not pause for sentiment, and I continued to build what I had set out to do, a life where a woman does not have to choose between love and ambition. A life where both can exist if you are willing to risk the loneliness that comes with standing tall and making decisions that may seem unkind to those who expect you to forgive every wrong instantly. In the end, the chapter closed with a sigh of relief, not from the pain of betrayal, but from the sense that the room now respects not only my charts, but my resolve, not only my voice, but the integrity that powers every deal I touch. I am Helena Montez, 35 years old, and I have learned that a master plan does not vanish with a heartbreak. It grows alongside a life that refuses to be defined by a single moment of weakness. The road ahead will surely test me again, and there will be murmurs and new temptations, but I will meet them with the same calm and the same unbending standard. For I have learned to turn every wound into a strategy, and every strategy into a future that belongs to the woman who chose to rise and refused to settle for anything less than the truth she could stand by when the lights went up on the next stage of her life.